I still remember the sound of the room going quiet. Not the respectful kind of quiet, the kind where people stop typing, stop breathing, and wait to see how bad it's about to get for you. We were in the weekly team meeting. 12 of us. Coffee cups, half-dead laptops, fake smiles. I had spent 3 weeks preparing the proposal I was about to present. Late nights. Missed dinners. I even practiced the pitch in my car before work, just to make sure I wouldn't stumble. When I finished, I looked at my boss. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, smirk already forming. Then he laughed. Not a chuckle, not a polite exhale, a real laugh. Loud enough that two people across the table looked down at their hands. "Is that it?" he said. My throat tightened. "I mean, this is what you've been working on." I felt heat crawl up my neck. My fingers went numb. He turned to the rest of the team. "This is what happens when you let junior employees think they're strategists." A couple people laughed. Not because it was funny, but because laughing was safer than silence. I tried to explain, tried to defend the data. My voice didn't sound like my own. It came out thinner, weaker. He cut me off with a raised hand. "Let's be honest," he said. "You're replaceable. And frankly, lucky to even be sitting in this room." That word stuck. Replaceable. The meeting moved on like nothing happened. My idea was discarded. The credit for my research was quietly handed to someone who hadn't said a word the entire meeting. Afterward, no one spoke to me, not even the people I'd helped before. I went back to my desk, stared at my screen, and realized my hands were shaking. I didn't cry. Not there. I waited until I got home, sat in my car in the dark parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I kept replaying his laugh in my head. That night, I opened my laptop not to update my resume, but to start writing everything down. Every insult, every stolen idea, every moment I swallowed my pride just to keep my job. I didn't know it yet, but that document would become the foundation of everything that came next. And eventually, it would destroy him. After that meeting, something shifted. Not in him, in everyone else. It was like the room had learned a new rule. This is how we treat you now. Emails stopped including my name. Conversations went quiet when I walked by. The projects I used to lead were suddenly reassigned without explanation. I'd find out only after deadlines had passed, when my boss would lean over my cubicle wall and ask, with fake concern, why I hadn't delivered. I was never told about it, I'd say. He'd raise an eyebrow. Excuses already. The worst part wasn't the workload. It was the doubt. The slow poison of wondering if maybe he was right. Maybe I was overestimating myself. Maybe I deserved this. Then came the sabotage. One morning, I logged in and found entire sections of my work missing. Data I knew I'd uploaded gone. When I asked IT, they said someone with manager-level access had rolled back the files. My boss called me into his office that afternoon. He didn't yell. That would have been easier. He spoke calmly, flipping through printed pages. "This is sloppy," he said. "I defended you once. I won't do it again." "I didn't delete anything," I said. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. He smiled, careful. Accusing management doesn't look good on performance reviews. That's when I realized this wasn't about my work. This was about control. A week later, he made me present again, this time with no prep, no notice. Halfway through, he interrupted. "See," he said to the room. "This is what I mean. No leadership presence." I caught my reflection in the glass wall behind him. Shoulders hunched, jaw tight. Someone I barely recognized. At lunch, I ate alone in my car. I stopped talking to friends about work because saying it out loud made it feel more real. I started waking up at 3 a.m., heart racing, replaying conversations that hadn't even happened yet. The final straw came on a Friday. He CC'd the entire department on an email blaming me for a failed client pitch one I'd warned him about weeks earlier. My inbox exploded. Questions, side-eyes, judgment. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. That night, I added a new section to my document. Witnesses, dates, emails, access logs. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. And for the first time since that meeting, I wasn't afraid of him. There's a moment quiet, almost invisible when you stop hoping things will get better. For me, it happened on a Tuesday morning. I was sitting at my desk, staring at an email from HR. Not a warning, not a threat, just a polite reminder about maintaining professionalism under pressure. That's when it hit me. He'd already poisoned the well. No matter how hard I worked, how carefully I spoke, how small I made myself, this story had been written without me. I wasn't an employee anymore. I was an example. So I stopped trying to survive. Instead, I started paying attention. I noticed how often my boss left early, claiming client dinners. I noticed which senior leaders he left with and which ones he avoided. I noticed how nervous he got whenever compliance was mentioned, how quickly he changed the subject. And I noticed something else. He was careless. He reused passwords, left documents open, forwarded emails without checking attachments. He treated rules the way he treated people, as things that didn't apply to him. Every evening, I stayed late, not to work harder but to observe. I documented everything, screenshots, timestamps, backup copies stored in places only I could access. At home, I researched labor law, internal reporting procedures, whistleblower protections. I didn't rush. Rushing is how people make mistakes. Weeks passed. He grew bolder. He started assigning me impossible deadlines, then criticizing me publicly for missing them. He joked about my lack of ambition during meetings. Once he asked if I was emotionally stable enough to handle responsibility. People laughed again. This time, I didn't react. That unsettled him. I could see it in his eyes, the confusion, the way he tried to provoke me harder. Like a child poking something that no longer flinched. What he didn't know was that every insult was strengthening my case. Then came the email. An accidental forward. A private conversation between him and another executive. They talked about cutting corners, about burying complaints, about using me as documentation in case anything surfaced. I read it 3 times. My hands were steady. That night, I didn't add to my document. I created a new folder and named it Final because I wasn't reacting anymore. I was preparing. People think revenge is loud. It isn't. Real revenge is quiet. It looks like compliance. It sounds like no problem. It feels like patience, stretched thin but never breaking. I started doing exactly what he expected. I showed up early. I took notes. I nodded during meetings. I sent polite emails thanking him for guidance. I even asked for feedback, just enough to make him feel comfortable again. And it worked. He stopped watching me. That's when I moved. I requested access to shared folders under the pretense of cross-team collaboration. He approved it without reading. I volunteered to help prepare reports for senior leadership. He loved that less work for him. Every file I touched was copied, every revision tracked, every late night change logged. Then I widened the net. I reached out carefully to 2 former employees, people who'd left quietly, people who never spoke badly in public. 1 coffee turned into 3. Stories overlapped, dates matched, the same phrases, the same tactics, patterns. One of them slid a printed email across the table and said, "I always wondered if this would matter someday." It did. At work, the pressure escalated. He announced a performance improvement plan for me out of nowhere, publicly, like a warning shot. I thanked him. That confused him more than anger ever could. Behind the scenes, I submitted a formal complaint. Not emotional, not dramatic, just facts, attachments, timelines, cross-references. I didn't send it to HR. I sent it to compliance, legal, and a senior director he'd spent years avoiding. Then I waited. He sensed something was wrong. Started calling me into his office for check-ins. His voice lost its edge. His jokes fell flat. He asked questions I answered carefully. I watched him spiral in real time. The day before the quarterly review, I saw him pacing the hallway, phone pressed tight to his ear, whispering. He didn't look powerful anymore. He looked afraid. That night, I slept better than I had in months because I knew something he didn't. The meeting tomorrow wasn't about me. It was about him. The conference room felt different that morning. Same glass walls, same long table, same stale coffee smell. But the air was heavier, like everyone sensed something was about to break. My boss sat 2 seats down from me. He wouldn't look over. He kept checking his phone, thumb tapping too fast, jaw tight. The confidence he used to wear so easily was gone. The senior director entered last. No small talk, no smile. Let's begin, she said. The first few slides were routine, numbers, forecasts, safe territory. I stayed quiet, took notes, let him relax. Then she stopped. And now, she said, looking directly at him, we need to address a pattern of behavior. His head snapped up. She clicked the remote. Emails filled the screen. His words, his name, highlighted phrases I'd read 100 times in private, now projected 12 feet wide. Conversations about burying complaints, about manipulating reviews, about using documentation to protect himself. The room went silent. Someone cleared their throat. Another leaned back, arms crossed. He tried to speak. There's context. She raised a hand. There's more. Access logs, file changes, timelines, witness statements. Then she turned to me. Thank you for your patience, she said, and your professionalism. That's when he finally looked at me. Really looked. Not with superiority. Not with mockery. With disbelief. The meeting ended early. He was asked to stay behind. I wasn't. By the end of the week, his title was gone. By the end of the month, so was his job. No announcement. No drama. Just absence. People started talking to me again, apologizing, admitting they'd known something was wrong, but didn't feel safe speaking up. I listened. I didn't gloat, because revenge wasn't the victory. Peace was. I deleted the document that night. Every file. Every backup. I didn't need it anymore. He once called me replaceable. Turns out, I wasn't. And he was. If this story hit you, you already know why. If you've ever been underestimated, silenced, or humiliated, remember this. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply letting the truth speak. When the room is finally ready to listen,